Hello, and welcome to this video on lexical tone. I hear that more than half of the world's languages are tone languages. What do we mean by that?
A tone language is one where the pitch of the voice makes a difference in the meaning of individual words, or in grammatical meaning. We call these lexical tone and grammatical tone. Lexical tone distinguishes one word or morpheme from another. For example, in the Thai language, the words field, face, and thick are distinguished only by tone.
Na, na, na.
In the Gadsup language of Papua New Guinea, the words for ditch and stone are distinguished only by tone.
Oni, oni.
In the Mada language of Nigeria, the words for small club and small frog are again distinguished only by tone.
Vugba, vugba.
Grammatical tone, on the other hand, distinguishes one grammatical construction from another one. In the Maasai language of Kenya, we have Mesisi Olabani and Mesisi Olabani. These differ only by tone on the first word, Mesisi, Mesisi. The first sentence means the healer will not be praised or is not praised, but the second sentence means the healer should be praised. As you can see, grammatical tone is often very important in orthography, and we will discuss this in the next video. In this video, we will talk only about lexical tone.
So, how do I start? What is the first step?
First, find out if you do have lexical tone. If related languages have lexical tone, your language probably does too. In our examples earlier, the only difference between words was tone.
Oni, oni.
These are what we call minimal pairs of tone. That is, tone is the only difference between two different words. But you do not need minimal pairs to prove a language is tonal. If you have a lot of words which have one pitch pattern and a lot of other words which have a different pitch pattern, then you have a tone language. For example, mama and nama are not minimal tone pairs, but they are similar and have a difference in pitch. In the same way, kuku and kutu are not minimal pairs, but they are similar and have a difference in pitch. All these words show a pattern. Some words are low-high, mama, kuku, and others are high-low, nama, kutu. So this is evidence that this is a tone language.
That is good to know. What do you find out next?
Second, find out what kind of tones are in the language. Many languages have high and low tones, and that is all. Other languages can have 3 levels of tone: high, mid, low. It is rare to have 4 or more levels. Also, many languages have different kinds of contour tones, that is, falling or rising tones. Ba, ba. We don't have time to give details here on how to discover all the patterns. But here is one tip. Collect several hundred words, maybe 1,000 words, and group these words into tone patterns with the help of a native speaker. This should give you an idea about what the patterns are. If the tone of a word changes when it's surrounded by different words, don't worry about this now, but note when this happens. Also, look at the video on more tone issues and the video on phonological levels.
What else do you need to discover about tone even before you think about the orthography?
Third, find out how much functional load lexical tone has in the language. Functional load is how important tone is in distinguishing words. When you have a lot of words written with accurate tone, calculate what percentage of these are distinguished only by tone. This will help you decide whether you should mark lexical tone in the language or not.
Now to decide. Do we need to mark lexical tone?
The answer is, it depends. It depends largely on the functional load that lexical tone has in the language. Languages where lexical tone has a heavy functional load usually need tone to be marked in the orthography. For languages with a light functional load of lexical tone, this tone may not need to be marked at all.
What exactly do you mean by heavy and light?
It's hard to give an exact percentage, but if 30% of your 1,000 words are minimal pairs, that's definitely heavy. If 1% are minimal pairs, that's definitely light. For a percentage in the middle, do some testing. One way of testing is to have readers read a text that does not have tone marking and note what kind of mistakes they make. If they make mistakes on tone, compare this test with a similar text that has been marked for tone. For more details, see the video on testing. However, even if lexical tone is not marked, it may be that grammatical tone should be marked. Again, see the next video on grammatical tone for this.
All right, let's say that I do need to mark lexical tone. How do I do that? To start with, do I label every kind of tone?
No, usually not. You usually leave one kind of tone unmarked. For example, if you have high and low tones, you might mark only the high tone, ba, and leave the low tone, ba, unmarked. If you have 3 or more tones, you can leave one tone unmarked, usually the most common one. High, ba, low, ba, but the mid is unmarked. When you teach reading, you must teach how to pronounce the lack of a tone marking, just like you teach how to pronounce the tones that are marked. Some people decide to label only minimal pairs of tone. This may work in languages with a low functional load of tone. Only a few words are possible to get confused, even in a text. One challenge of this is that you need to create a list of all these words and teach all of them. And writers will often forget to mark the tone on these few words.
Okay, we've talked about when to mark tone, but how do you mark tone? What symbols can you use to mark lexical tone?
First, I should say that in this video, we are only talking about Latin or Roman script orthographies. Non-Roman scripts, like Devanagari or others in Asia, or Arabic, have their own ways of marking tone. We will not talk about those other scripts here. The most common way to mark lexical tone is with accent marks. We have seen these a little already. These can mark level tones or rising and falling tones, as in these examples. In some languages, unused consonants can mark tone. This is best in a language that has 2 properties: only CV syllables, and where almost all the words are only 1 syllable long. One possible example: Q for high tone, H for low tone, X for falling, and unmarked for a mid-tone. This method of marking tone has been accepted more in Asia than in Africa.
Are there less common ways to mark tone?
A few languages have used punctuation marks for lexical tone. These are languages with mostly one-syllable words and a very, very high functional load of tone. This has been used mostly in the country of Côte d'Ivoire. Here we see punctuation can be used for level tones, and the marks can be combined before and after the syllable to mark contour tones. Some languages, especially in Mexico, have used raised numbers to indicate tone, with two numbers indicating a rise or fall. This can work, but these are not used very much anymore and are not recommended now. There are other possibilities, but these are the most common methods.
So, how do you decide which of these methods to use to mark lexical tone?
The same as other decisions in orthography. You want to consider both usability and acceptability and involve stakeholders in the discussion. Usability will determine if you mark tone at all, or if you do, how often or how much tone is marked, so people can read it easily. Questions on acceptability include: what do other languages in the area do? Do people think tone marks look strange? What will people accept? Whatever system is decided upon, you need to test it and see if people can read with it. In some languages, the tone of a word never changes. But if the tone of a word changes because of other words around it, there are more decisions to be made. See the Phonological Levels video.
Today, we talked about lexical tone. Tone that makes a difference in individual words. Remember the idea of usability? Can people use the orthography? In some languages, tone is as important as consonants and vowels. If you ignore tone, people will not be able to read. In other languages, even tone languages, tone does not need to be marked. As with other parts of the orthography, testing is important in making this decision.